Welcome. Hello. It's time for Blocktalk. We're on Bitcoin block 417056. So we're getting super close to that halving. Like this was the biggest news story of recent times, but we got something else kind of bigger to talk about today. But it's also Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to my father, Ben Stirk. You have a wonderful influence on me and my um, I guess, attitude towards all things in this space. Yeah, I thank you for that, and also thank you to one of our guests on the show today for joining us on Father's Day, and to fathers everywhere. But first off, we should probably talk about some of our sponsors. Like I had some great chats in the past couple days here with Tenderman and even Max Kaiser. And Max, you should come on the Blocktalk show. In fact, anyone who's watching, please tweet at Max Kaiser to come on Blocktalk. We want to hear the official story of the Starcoin hack first here. But I also talked with Anthony Diorio of Decentral. And Decentral in Toronto is like this wonderful facility that is doing so much to help the space. They got their Bitcoin ATM, they do consulting, and lots of really cool things. One of them is actually Jaxx. Jaxx is this unified blockchain experience across all these different platforms where, yeah, you basically have your wallet for every single blockchain you should really be caring about, at least in the current moment. I might argue there's a couple more, but yeah, they have Ether and Bitcoin, and they even had like DAO integrations where you could do voting and whatnot. But yeah, I guess there's some stuff to be determined about that. We'll hear more about it, I'm sure, today. They're also doing the World Blockchain Expo in September, so I look forward to actually attending this myself. It's going to be probably the biggest blockchain event, I think, in the world, and yeah, it's super exciting, and I look forward to possibly getting media tickets for it. We'll see. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. Cough, cough. Anyways, we also have the YouTube chat going. I'll monitor it closely if you guys have any questions. But without further ado, let's get on to the main event here, guys. Hi, I'm Alex, and we have our wonderful guest back again, Griff Green of Slockit.
Hey guys, happy Father's Day. I should say I have 3 dads, so happy Father's Day, Corky. Happy Father's Day, Dad and Dad. I'm very happy to be here, and I'll call you later.
All right, cool. And we have our resident dad and also the co-founder of Bittrex and the main wallet guy, the one who deals with all of our terrible software every single day. Thanks so much, Richie, for joining us. And we look forward to, I guess, hearing your experience with this latest news story. And oh yeah, one last thing. Sorry to my dad. On Wednesday, yeah, his very first tractor. I was driving it down the road and it caught fire while I was driving it. I'm very sorry to have that happen. We've ruled out Cabbage Devs as trying to kill me. It was an accident, so let's not talk about it anymore. But yeah, Griff, tell us what's up right now. Like, can you give us a scoop? I guess in few as words.
Yeah, I mean, I assume most people kind of have an idea of what happened. The DAO was hacked by some Solidity dev who I'm pretty sure has a very clear understanding of the code. There's not very many people who it could be. And he was able to use a recursive call function. What we know is that he called split 7 days before this attack. So he had to have known. The reason we know he's a Solidity dev is because who else follows these alerts about potential issues? So he started a split and joined other people's splits days before this attack with his smart contract to try to test it. And then he ended up sucking about a little over 3.5 million Ether out of the DAO and putting it in a child DAO. The situation feels really grave, but it's not as bad as it could have been if Christoph Jensch wasn't very careful with his code. And luckily, every ether that was ever used to create DAO tokens is still stuck in a DAO of the same sort. So all of the DAOs have the exact same bytecode, and we can easily hard fork this situation and take all the ether out from the attacker's DAO and give it all the ether that was in any DAO and give it back to the token holders that were robbed. So that's my short explanation.
Well, yeah, I think this represents actually about 5% of all ether in existence. You said
the amount that was stolen, the amount that is in all these DAOs that is at risk right now, represents 14%.
Okay. Well, as we kind of were discussing shortly before the show, like I actually read an article even too that said the DAO is Ethereum's Mt. Gox, and this was actually I think like 2 weeks ago I read this, but now it's kind of coming to fruition. But I don't think too many people are as worried as they were with Mt. Gox, because there seems to be a lot more of a public record, and the funds are still kind of in limbo. There's still a lot that can be done to either retrieve them or to kind of have regain access and do that sort of thing. So you mentioned I guess a fork, and that's kind of what's on everyone's mind is it's like that's the plan, I guess, of the Slockit team and the DAO Hub guys. And
let's not get ahead of ourselves. Slockit doesn't have power to pull a fork off. And I would say that there is a really solid. I've been really impressed with the Ethereum community as a whole. The developers, the miners, the exchanges. I know Richie's part of some some Skype groups, and people who you would think are competitors are all working together calmly to discuss the options that we have. And there are a lot of options. I think the hard fork is the best option. Pretty much, I would say most people are content with a soft fork right away at the current moment. But the only way it's amazing how well all these different parties, I mean, we're talking well over 100 people, are trying to are discussing this on Skype channels, trying to figure out what could happen if this happens or that happens. And it's just incredible because they are competitors. They all have competing. You know, some people are working for Guest, some people are working for Parity, some people are working for Bittrex, some people are working for Bitfinex, and everyone is talking to each other very calmly, changing their minds about different options and saying philosophically, I disagree with this, but practically that makes sense. You know, like I've been very impressed, and it gives me a lot of hope that whatever decision is made, it will be consensus-based, and it will not be a risk to the Ethereum network.
So we actually have a quick comment here I've seen already in our chat. Someone said, don't call it a hack, and I might have to agree with this because in the traditional sense of the word hack, it definitely kind of fits. But I think a far better way to explain what went on here, like, is not a theft, but it's an exploit. Like he found a bug in the code, and rather than submit a bug report, like he decided to exploit it.
Yeah, I mean it's a valid point. You know, it's really tough because this exploit was made public about a week and a half ago, something like that, and so there was kind of a culture around how do you use the call method, and it was like you say it was saying basically this is general coding practice, and I'm not like a professional coder at all. So I'm just repeating what I've been able to get, but it's like first you do this, then you do this, then you make the call function. And then we found out later, after the DAO has launched and everything was done, that actually first you do the call function, and then I got that wrong. Before it was said that first you do the call function, then you do these things. Now we find out later, actually it's better to do these things first and then do the call function. So, you know, it's kind of this weird thing that we're still in a beta phase. We're still in Homestead for Ethereum. I mean, we're working with a programming language that has only been around for not even a year. So there's a lot to be learned, and this is one thing that's interesting is that Ethereum is set to have a couple more hard forks. This is not like something that's not expected. We're going to need to move to proof of stake. We're going to need to move to sharding, right? These are like planned events to get to Metropolis and Serenity. So now I think that it would make a lot of sense to not allow, maybe not hackers, although I'm sure this guy's a hacker. I don't think anyone can argue with that one. But to not let this guy run off with 5% of the Ethereum of the Ether in the network, and instead say, hey, if you try to do funny stuff on the Ethereum blockchain, well, guess what? We are a team, and we're not going to allow that. Now, but maybe the hard fork's not the best option. I mean, that is the one, obviously, clearly, I really, really want, because I want to make the DAO token holders whole again and it seems like that can happen without negatively affecting anyone else. Just a little bit of work from some amazing devs. And okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna just keep talking.
No, that's quite alright. Like I was actually hoping that Vlad Zamfir would have joined us because like this is the first hack we've seen in the space, and like I think one that I like to point to a lot is Vericoin, because they were proof of stake, and it kind of represented a significant risk to their network to have that much Ethereum or Vericoin in bad hands. So I think if like I was hoping maybe to get Vlad's interpretation of this, like what would have been better if this was already in our next stage of proof of stake with something at stake and having validators, and like would it have been easier to actually prevent this Ethereum from getting out, or or does this actually represent an even worse risk because now you have a guy who's clearly malicious towards Ethereum, who actually is in control of a lot of Ethereum and is willing probably to burn it all to take down the network?
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I mean, he's got a DAO with all this Ethereum. I was actually talking with Simon, our CEO, and it's like, well, we were going to have the universal sharing network in our DAO. I wonder in the DAO, he's probably going to have like proposals for the universal stealing network, and he's going to fund hacking attacks, with his DAO, and the different hackers will make proposals, and and then, I mean, it just seems like a really bad idea to do nothing. So I hope something happens. And and you mentioned Vlad Zamfir. I mean, I gotta say, I am so impressed with that guy. I of course had some issues because naturally there were he put out this paper that prevented Slockit from going for a universal sharing network right away, which turns out that was a really good idea. And the moratorium was right. And so, look, Father's Day. Yep. And then, but he has been amazing in the Skype channels, and just like really, without like necessarily taking a stance on either side, just giving out really solid information about what could happen here or what could happen there. He's just one of the many superstars right now in the Ethereum network that are really stepping up.
Well, yeah, I thought it would be kind of funny too. Is like, I wonder if this hacker's DAO is going to be more successful. Like, if he just doesn't drain it right away, he actually just becomes a curator for it and basically votes to have everything go his way. I don't know. It could be really funny. Maybe we can talk to Bittrex about having it listed at some point.
Yeah, let's get Papa Bittrex on this. What are your thoughts, man?
Which part of it? Said a lot of things, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what has happened. Like, what has happened on the exchange side of things?
People are still trading. I'm not quite sure where they're trying to peg the value at right now, not knowing what the future looks like.
Yeah. I mean, did you ever pause trading for anything?
No, and that's one of the things that came out in some of the leaked logs, right? The request to go pause trading. I mean, it isn't an exchange's place to go and speed up or slow down the market. Our only concern at the time, for example, was making sure that the funds that were getting deposited and withdrawn were actually still valid and good. But we tried very hard not to pause trading unless something really bad has happened.
Yeah, there was a moment there where we were asking people to spam the network. Did that affect anything? I don't even know if spamming the network actually stopped anything.
It raised the gas price.
Oh yeah.
Which threw some things off, but I mean that's just nothing here or there.
So all the other dApp developers, I'm sure, were throwing papers in the air. It's like, oh, geez, there goes my budget. Like,
Yeah.
but
Probably.
you know, it was funny when we had the last show, and even afterwards, I was thinking of more attack vectors, and I was kind of thinking, like, maybe like an exchange is probably going to have be a reason for an issue of this. Like, somebody splits with their DAO, and then they trade it for new DAO, and then they split with that again. So I was almost thinking, like, we might be having Richie on the show for a hack of the DAO.
Well, from the smart contract perspective, you know, we only talk to one smart contract, which is the DAO's contract. So even if you split the DAO off to, you know, 10, 20 of them, we're always going to be trading the original contract until we switch it. And that's one of the challenges we have in the upcoming soft fork, right? We're going to have to be able to, you know, if it passes, switch the contract locally here so that we can still, you know, move the current DAO tokens around.
Oh, is that really an issue with this soft fork?
Well, it's untested, right? No one's done it. We haven't done a live contract switch.
I don't think it's supposed to switch the contract. I don't know enough about it, but my understanding was that hopefully it's just going to stop any actual ether from leaving any DAO. So any child DAO, even if it's honest. Luckily, no one can actually even move ether for at least a couple weeks. Even the first split DAO, I think they have like 13 days before they're going to be able to move any ether. So that's good. But the soft fork, I believe, is just preventative. But like you said, it's untested. I mean, we will see.
So we have, I guess, I saw 27 days, I think, in Vlad's or Vitalik's update. So is there a date or a block number or block height for the?
There's definitely no block height. Luckily, Ethereum is really easy. I mean, Solidity code just makes everything so easy. It does all the math in the background, and you can literally type in 27 days, and and then all of a sudden a time is created. I mean, Solidity is just the best to work with. I probably shouldn't be speaking that up right now, but it really is. It really is relatively easy to read. But so right now we have 25 days until the end of the creation phase for the attacker's DAO, and then we'll have he can then split in 32 days. He could try to split that DAO, or they could try to split that DAO, and in 14 days after that. So let's see. Hold on. 25, 39 days. In 39 days. There's a risk he could empty the stolen funds or stolen. If some people don't like it to be called stolen, I think it's stolen. But the stolen funds to Bittrex.
Well, yeah. So my original question was, do you guys have like a block height set for the hard fork then, or whatever corrective action you guys are planning on doing?
I mean, we're not the central planners here. We are coordinating as much as we can with everything. I mean, I've said this many times. Ethereum itself is a DAO. And,
that's really a good question. Who exactly is going to be getting together to make this decision, or at least lay out the options for the decision to be made?
The biggest people are the mining pool operators, obviously. And actually, Jeffrey Vilka, I think his name is German, so I think that's how you say it. Jeffrey Vilka has been huge. He is the lead developer of the Go client and, of course, the founder of Ethereum. He was on holiday, but spent yesterday stepping it up like everyone else in the Ethereum network or Ethereum community to code up a soft fork implementation that develop and he's testing it, and so that's still working on. So obviously Jeffrey's really important. The mining pool guys, obviously Vitalik is everyone listens to him, and I think Christoph Jensch is a pretty important person too, since he knows the DAO code and the best. I mean, he led the open source development of it. And is there anyone else that's really? I mean, Gavin has been huge. He's already been working on a hard fork code and was the first to put up a soft fork code for his parity client. So at the core has been stepping it up huge too. I mean, it is really a decentralized effort. Anyone who wants to participate has been, and there have been a lot of people, influential people in the network communities.
One thing I might suggest as my participation is I think you could probably code into your hard fork that the hacker or the attacker, as he calls himself, he should probably get like 10,000 ETH or something for finding a bug. Like there should be a bug bounty. If anything, that should have been almost like a default proposal in the DAO. Like
we had a proposal for a bug bounty.
It never got voting, I guess. So.
I mean, we could never put it up there because the curators wouldn't. They called a moratorium, so we couldn't do a. I mean, they called it whitelist freeze because there were proposals that got voted on, but we couldn't actually submit the proposal because we weren't approved by the curators. But I should say the security proposal that we offered was toned down. Our original security proposal was like a $1.5 million. Like, we are going to do 24/7 security, full audit of everything. We're going to go to outside sources, bug bounties. We're going to do as much as we can. And it was actually, the response was really negative, and we were told that we're asking for too much money and too much time. So then we, we backed off and said, well, we at least want a point person. So that's where we went. We just said we're going to hire somebody for free to watch the DAO and be the point person for all security issues. And then we were going to hopefully do a bug bounty after that. Actually, we're working on a bug bounty with Taylor from My Ether Wallet, one of the many community members that step up during this. So, I mean, she's been stepping up for the last 2 months.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you kind of mentioned, the Ethereum DAO, and I think, the real irony of this whole thing is, like, okay, you guys built, like, this platform to be, like, a highly efficient kind of voting matrix and a better version of the DAO than we've ever seen before, and then in the end, we're now defaulting to the higher level DAO, which is the Ethereum DAO, to basically organize, like a court case. Like, this is basically all the miners are jurors. They're going to all have to vote on, yes, this guy should get the money, or no, he shouldn't, and then the judge in this case that's going to enforce it is the blockchain, like the consensus algorithm. So, this is super ironic in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I wish Andreas Antonopoulos got to give his proposal for DAM, decentralized autonomous mediation network. He wanted to create basically justice on the blockchain, and it'd be really interesting to see what they would come up with, what the best solution is, hard fork, soft fork, or what.
Yep. Let me get to my list of topics here. For those in the chat, I'm doing my best to kind of read and also participate in this conversation, and share your thoughts here. I'm being your surrogate, but please bear with me. I almost kind of want to talk about, I guess, the pros of both scenarios, because everyone's kind of talking about, like, well, both of these scenarios are really bad. We hard fork or we don't. Maybe we can, talk a little bit about the pros. Like, okay, say there is no hard fork, and we go to this guy gets all this ether, and the market's gonna have to absorb it. Well, this still proves that you guys don't. No one owns this network. Then, like, it truly is decentralized. Vitalik is merely he's not a head of the snake. He is merely an advisor to this DAO of the ether.
Yeah. Before I go too deep into that, maybe I should just really explain, like, everyone thinks of a hard fork in terms of Bitcoin, but in Ethereum it's very different. Do you mind if I talk about that really quick?
Yeah, because they've actually done several hard forks, as you mentioned before, so it doesn't seem like it's too out of the ordinary. It's just this one's a bit more controversial.
Yeah, the other hard forks are more obvious because there were bugs in the EVM, in the virtual machine, the Ethereum virtual machine, in the bytecode itself that had to be fixed. This is very controversial because it's a DApp, and when Gatecoin got hacked, we didn't hard fork, to stop the attacker, and when other problems happen, we don't hard fork. Although Jeffrey Vilga has been really cool about that, he actually decided to change the tag on the Geth client to make it so that if you could submit another opportunity, if you feel that your hack was big enough, that you could allow the miners to do something about it. So that was interesting. But anyway, back to Bitcoin versus Ethereum hard fork, because this is really important. In Bitcoin, the way Bitcoins move through the blockchain, there's always a chain of custody. There's no balances on the Bitcoin blockchain. You have to see how many Bitcoins an account does. It actually checks to make sure that all those Bitcoins originated at a certain point. For Ethereum, it's very different. So if you want to roll back Bitcoin to a certain point, you have to undo all transactions that happen on the blockchain and restart at that block. You can't. There's no other way to do it. With Ethereum, it's a very flexible protocol. So every time that like the DAO token, it is just a simple database. I mean, there's just accounts and balances. So every time that a token is transferred, there's a little line that says change this address's balance to plus whatever the value that was transferred, and then that number in the little Excel spreadsheet changes. It's not that complicated. You don't have to roll everything back. So if we do a hard fork, it can be hard coded in that at a certain block in the future, maybe if mining consensus is 85% or 70% or whatever number someone comes up with, probably Gavin, because he seems to be working really hard on this. If we get to that point and that consensus is reached, the DAO contract will change to this, and then the balance of all the DAO tokens at that moment would be able to redeem and receive their ether back, and all the ether from all the other DAOs would be sent back to the DAO. I mean, this is one way, the way that it sounds like it's going to go. All of the ether in any DAO would be sent to a new contract which has one function: withdraw. And anyone who has DAO tokens, depending on which DAO token it is, if it's a child DAO, it'll have this much value, and that'll all be hard-coded into the hard fork. They would be able to just redeem the ether that is rightfully theirs, and at least that they believed was rightfully theirs. And the attacker would get nothing. His DAO would be left out of the ability to redeem tokens redeem their DAO tokens for that. So it would be
DAO token.
Yeah, the big point I want to say is it would affect nobody else. It wouldn't affect anybody outside of it. That's the amazing thing about this situation. Christoph Jantsch really saved the day by making it so that no ether has left the DAO ecosystem for a long period of time, just as a safety precaution.
But sorry, Griff, to be fair though, by doing this, you're basically stating, and you state yourself, it is a database that can be changed. But by doing this one time, aren't you opening a door for anyone else to change the database at any given time in the future?
I wouldn't say that, but anyone who is able to get, I mean, I wouldn't say it that bluntly, but anyone who is able to reach consensus along a certain topic, like moving to proof of stake or moving to sharding, would have to do the exact same consensus process, which is, hey, all the miners, all the devs, all the exchanges, do you agree to this change? And if you do, then thumbs up. And if you don't, then we shouldn't do it. And because consensus is the most important thing. Because if we don't reach consensus, a hard fork is very risky. And this is $1 billion, $1.5 billion. I don't actually know because it was $1.5 billion a few days ago. Right now, it's not doing as hot. So, but there is a lot of money at risk, and it is not worth splitting into two tokens. Or, I mean, I have a master's in digital currencies, and I've looked at hard forks, and they are very scary to me. I'm not going to lie. But what gives me hope that this hard fork has potential is that I think everyone else realizes that too. And if there is not consensus, it won't happen.
Richie, can you think of, I guess, maybe other examples of forks in the space? I know I mentioned Vericoin, but I'm not sure if there's anything notable you want to mention too.
No, I mean, philosophically speaking, I mean, the blockchain is designed so it is immutable, right? The entire concept of reversing transactions or changing something that's already been confirmed goes against the principles of blockchains. I think Vericoin is probably the only coin I can think of that's done a hard fork to recover funds.
What was the other fork that I heard? Well,
I mean, Bitcoin did a fork to recover funds. It was a bug in the protocol.
That's not really recovering funds, though. It was more fixing protocol.
There were two hard forks.
Two hard forks.
There was one hard fork where they did an upgrade and the chain split. There was another one where they actually, some miner was able to mess it up so that they created a bunch of Bitcoin and they just backtracked and undid it.
I don't think either of those were considered hard forks. I have to go back and look at it, but one was a database mismatch issue, which caused a forking issue, and that was reforked. The other one was a bug in coin creation. Again, I'm not a Bitcoin blockchain expert, even though I deal with these things every day. But there's a lot of history when it comes to Bitcoin in the early days.
Coin creation. You're right. It's a little bit different, but
and to be fair, we're talking about Bitcoin circa 2011. Like in today's 2016 environment, the blockchain is a multi-billion-dollar, maybe even trillion-dollar business, especially with fintech looking at it. To put the blockchain technology at risk by making changes that prove that it's not immutable, that's where I get worried.
I mean, this is just a fact. It's not immutable. There's a, and it's sad that has to be said. I mean, there is an idealistic thing, but there are still humans that are controlling this network. There are important people, and it is based on consensus of humans. It is not a robot. So it is debatable, and I am pushing for the hard fork because I represent the DAO token holders, and I talk to them every day, and I know that it also won't affect the rest of the community. Now, philosophically, will it affect the rest of the people's perspective on the Ethereum network? It might. But my question is, will that perspective be worse after this? Or will it be better? Will it be that, actually, this network has fail-safes built in, and if something major does go wrong, these people can actually get together and solve the problem, versus Bitcoin where, we can't even raise the block size limit after 2 years of debate. I don't know if that will help the perspective of Ethereum or hurt it. It's debatable. I mean, what do you think, Richie?
You can never tell the crypto crowd.
Yeah. I know it'll make the bankers happy.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: someone's gonna be unhappy no matter what happens here, right? I think the last poll I saw showed that at 51-49 in terms of hard fork versus not hard fork in one of the polls online. So I don't think you make everyone happy. I don't think you need to worry about that. And Griff, don't get me wrong. I agree with you at a fundamental level. I'm philosophically against the fork. I'm against changing the blockchain. I think that it's a powerful technology, and we start opening ourselves up to cases where, what if governments come and force us to go change a blockchain for some reason? Right. So philosophically, I'm against it. However, as an exchange owner and seeing our customers, a fork is definitely the right thing to do. These were funds that were not acquired with best intentions. You can say it was in the code. You can say it was not a hack. That's fine. But no matter how you put it, it was funds stolen from customers and DAO token owners are the ones that are paying for it.
Yeah.
Well, can we try and make an analogy of like, say there was maybe not a company, maybe a co-op. Let's call it a co-op. There was a co-op, and one of the members left, and then he figured out, somewhere in the legal print of the co-op, that he was able to leave with more than his fair share of the co-op. Like, I think it's still in, terms of the law, you're able to dispute this this movement of funds, and we're kind of in a space where anyone can vote on it. And okay, so who gets to vote on it right now? Well, right now it's the miners. If we were in proof of stake, I think this would be a much simpler argument. The guys with a lot of the money to lose are gonna vote probably for the best stake financially in the network. But now you have guys who are maybe have a vested interest in hardware, but they're more just these are hardcore, maybe like miner guys that are very much like Richie, where they have a philosophical thing that they're kind of sticking with. So they might say, a valid contract is a valid transaction, is a valid piece of code. So like I say, no matter what happens, I'm super excited to actually see the result, because this is going to set precedent in the space. This is the most powerful fork this year. Who cares a shit if Bitcoin's going to fork now? This is the one that everyone's watching.
Yeah, and I don't know if you watched. I don't know if you caught some of Anton's show yesterday, but a couple of lawyers there were really, really smart talking about it. I am not a lawyer. I'm not going to try to give a legal opinion, but I think they covered just about every angle of this entire contract versus no contract thing.
Yep. Yeah.
What did they say?
It's a 2-hour presentation, and
Yeah.
I always recommend you watch it instead of Blocktalk. But
I want a 2-minute summary. I don't have time to sleep, man.
I don't have a 2-minute summary, but what's something that really interesting came up in the lady lawyer talked about yesterday was the fact that there's this concept of an assertion of mistake in a contract, and a judge won't allow one party to gain a lot more financial gain than others based on a mistake in a contract. So just in your example there, like if a co-op did this, I think that a legal system would side with that. But we're talking about blockchains that run everything and everything's the code's the law. It's hard to tell from that point.
Well, yeah, and they mentioned a lot about jurisdictions. Like the DAO doesn't have a jurisdiction that it operates in, so the law of the land is Wild West.
It actually does, and I think this clearly shows it. It operates in the jurisdiction of the Ethereum Decentralized Autonomous Organization.
Okay, so now, yeah, like I say, it's up to the miners, the jurors in this case, to basically choose how this is going to go. The issue, and this is actually something I think in real court cases, is that you need unanimous decision across all the jurors, because if you start getting fights and you go back in arbitration and they go back in. So anyone who knows an Ethereum miner, let them know they got jury duty coming up.
Yeah, well, what's funny? Vlad Zamfir actually brought this up, and it was really powerful to me because I'm always in the Bitcoin space. I'm kind of new to the Ethereum space, but it's more than just the miners. In fact, even if the miners were split perfectly, but everyone else, like all of the exchanges and all of the developers were saying, actually, we all want the soft fork, and we're only going to recognize tokens or Ether that is coming with the soft fork in place, then the miners, this goes back to something that is talked about why proof of stake is very dangerous, because the miners actually have something at stake. If they're mining a coin that no one wants to validate, that no one believes in, then that coin has no value. So even if there's a minority of miners, but a majority of everyone else says this hard fork has to happen, it's kind of interesting. But that if it was a split, that other token wouldn't have any value, and all the miners would be incentivized to then move over to the actual token that everyone believes in, because value is in the eye of the beholder. It has nothing to do with anything else.
So I actually, when everyone was talking about the Bitcoin fork and like, oh, we need bigger blocks, we don't, but there's going to be 2 Bitcoins. One guy I knew who was operating an exchange, he was already running both nodes, and he was kind of making plans to actually have both Bitcoins traded, and was trying to think of a way that was going to work out for him. So maybe this is a better answer for a question for Richie to say, like, how would you guys think about handling 2 Ethereums or handling this fork of
We went through the same process when Core and Classic came out, so there's no good way to handle it. I mean, you're basically going to be trading 2 different cryptocurrency types. It wouldn't be a single one. I mean, someone would have to go figure out which one would be, Bitcoin Prime, Bitcoin Alpha, whatever you want to call it. But there's no great way of doing it, and I would highly suggest never going down a path like that, because you'd be causing so much confusion.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine that happening. Everyone is talking so well together and coordinating so well together. I just can't imagine it getting to that point.
So, any chance, I guess, of them rushing something like the proof of stake implementation to get that out before this?
No.
So. That's how more mistakes get made,
Yeah, exactly. No way.
So I got a question here from the Jumbuck Slack, where the Blocktalk room is kind of hosted. I won't say who it's from, but I'll say anonymously, I kind of want some insight into the security work that was done on the DAO, not what wasn't paid for. They contracted a vendor who didn't find the bug, and the recursion issue was disclosed, which allowed the hacker to find it, and Stefan publicly told people that it didn't ignore it. So, yeah, what kind of checking of this software, and even how long is the DAO software? How many lines are we talking about, and what sort of
it's tough.
were there?
I mean, I think if you took out all the comments, it could be somewhere between. It's definitely less than 1,000 lines, easy. But the thing is the unlimited combinations that are possible. So, for instance, we looked at the code and saw where the call functions were, and oh well, the call function was in the reward account, which has no funds in it. Well, this means we don't have. At the time we were going for a proposal framework. We were working with the curators, and they said, well, the DAO. We don't think the DAO has the ability to make decisions properly. So we were adding different things to make the proposal itself allow for a secure decision by the DAO. And then when we found this call bug, then it was like, oh well, then we just can't. We need to update the contract. But we didn't think we missed it. I mean, there was it's really impossible because you can write a smart contract with so many things in it, and this smart contract was extremely complicated. We were able to recreate it, and it's actually 2 smart contracts that do a lot of different things, moving tokens from here to there. I really shouldn't go into too much details. Actually, I wish I could take those words back because I don't want any other attacks on other smart contracts. But it was a very complicated attack, and that's the tough thing about tokens of value that are attached to Turing-complete programming languages. That's why no other blockchain really has that, because it is really difficult to see everything. As far as what security precautions did we do, I mean, we spent 8 months building this and testing it endlessly. I mean, we ran test after test. We have a whole testing framework that's all open source. We put everything open source, and many community members went through it and found different bugs over the many months and months that it's being developed. We had lots of people look over the code and read it and say, yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, some people went more in depth than others, but we put it out there. I mean, it was an open source project. It wasn't really just our code. We had a lot of people actually helping us to develop this, and obviously it's really tragic that it came to this point. But I'm still hopeful that nothing will actually be lost. So that it won't be the end of the world. It'll just be some funds were locked up for a period of time, which really sucks.
So for the DAO, like how are you guys able to stop these funds from the DAO to continue to be emptied? Like I thought once the contract was written, like there are no changes to it. Like that's kind of, once you push it out, that's what it is.
There is an updated. We have because we knew that we expected the DAO to improve. That was the whole point. So we added. We built in a lot of features that were extremely minimized for security. The voting had to be very simple. Every complexity that was added to the contract really made it more difficult to fix, security issues and game theoretical attacks. So we had to keep a lot of things simple, which meant we had to make an easy way to upgrade to a new contract. So that's what we did. There's a function that says new contract, and then you can use that to move all of the funds to a new contract that has different rules. One thing I should mention is that our tests were mostly for expected behavior, to make sure that everything that we expected the DAO to do were possible. The exploit is a whole different story. I mean, we're not the only contract that got hit by this exploit. The Maker DAO basically doesn't exist right now. They were able to find a way to attack their DAO and steal all the funds and put in a multisig. And so this exploit has really run across the whole Ethereum ecosystem and affected major projects.
Is Jaxx at risk too? That's the other major one I can think of.
Jaxx doesn't actually have a DAO yet. They're still developing theirs. So okay. They are going to. I mean, they just kind of did a crowd sale to build their DAO, and now they're going to audit the code very well. So in effect, yes, this helps Digix very much because they will not make this mistake. I don't think anyone will ever misuse the call function again.
I want to take a quote here from our last show together, and I'm going to take it completely out of context because it's kind of funny. Our DAO is kind of crappy. It was built for security.
Oh.
So this was talking about, the yes/no split, like what are the options and everything. But yeah, so you guys built the standard DAO framework. Well, when I say you, and you kind of said we, and a bunch of we're talking about DAO Hub now, not Slockit. But
Slockit is leading the development of the DAO framework, but as our project, it's an open source. It's on GitHub, and anyone who wants to can contribute. Everything is open source. Everything, and our tests are open source. Jordi Bellina has done an amazing job at building like a supplemental. Speaking of how the voting kind of is rough, he built delegated voting. He built liquid democracy, and implemented it in just 2 weeks after the DAO was created. He was already voting. I was able to throw my tokens in there, and he voted on proposals for me as a delegate. I mean, this was Slockit's whole intention around the Universal Sharing Network, the DAO, everything. Everything is open source. We want to collaborate with everyone. All the people that criticize the DAO or criticize any part of it, we're so happy to have them involved. This is Goon has been very critical to us. Awesome. I really love that more people will see his tweets and then look at our code with a critical eye, and nothing like this can happen again. Every project would be lucky to have so many people scoping out the code and checking for it. It's really too bad that somebody was able to see it and didn't report it. Colm was able to catch a lot of bugs that we had before we deployed it, and because he was a security expert and went through it, and it would have been amazing if this guy would have said, "Hey guys, we need to slow down here," instead of taking these black hat attacks. It's too bad.
So yeah, mentioning Slockit and the Universal Sharing Network again, it's just like, not that you guys are already kind of like kicking us to the curb and walking away, but like, have you guys kind of thought about a future for Slockit? Are you guys gonna do like an ICO now, or are you gonna, come?
Nah, I mean, we're too busy with this, man. We're trying to coordinate with everybody and getting as much. I mean, at least I'm trying to make sure everyone's getting as much information everywhere. Christoph and Stefan have just been like talking to everybody, miners, exchanges, whales, developers, anybody who asks. So many people are coming forward asking us questions. I have 37 different Slack chats that I need to answer tonight, and I'm so sorry to everyone. I don't sleep, man. And that's how we all are. Lefterist has been analyzing this code for 48 hours straight. I don't know if he slept at all. He was able to find an attack, and he just made a great blog post about it, that we might be able to attack the child DAO. It seems way too complicated, and he doesn't think it's the best option, but we're putting it out there because we want everyone to have as much information as possible to figure out what the best course of action is. As far as like what's Slockit's future, man, we'll figure that out next week. Right now, we just gotta work on, helping everybody out as much as we can through this whole process.
No, and we appreciate that, and like you guys have definitely kind of done as much as you can, at least what we're kind of seeing, and I appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much for contacting me, because I was quite surprised. Unfortunately, we don't have our live audience in
that would have been cool.
In Vancouver. Yeah. They have another event going on. I think it's like Naked Yoga or something going. And they didn't want to live stream it, so I don't know, man. Like, it's just what it is.
Everyone's so prudish these days.
Yeah,
no, just kidding.
But what other questions did I have? So you kind of mentioned you think the person is like well versed in solidarity. Like you maybe have a suspect in mind, I guess. Like that's kind of my question.
No, I mean I don't have any suspects in mind, and to be honest, I started out with that, and I already want to pull it back because personally, I don't want there to be any more victims in this. I'm not really one for revenge or retribution. That's just not my shtick. It doesn't really help if we catch the guy. That doesn't get DAO. That doesn't get Ether back in the hands of the people who really should deserve it. Maybe it would, but then maybe you just burn his private keys and say, "Screw you guys," excuse me. But I'm not looking for a witch hunt, and I don't want to accuse anybody of anything ever.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's definitely a good statement. I just want to say, like, disclaimer for the show is like, don't take anything I say as anything more than entertainment value. It's like it's just me chilling.
Yeah.
I have a couple less beers this time, so I'm a little.
I know we're both really tired. I can tell this is like just a little bit calmer than last time.
Yeah. No, last time was fun. And anyone who wants to learn more about the Universal Sharing Network, they should watch that 10-minute rant near the end of the show. It was really good.
Yeah, and let me say, the Universal Sharing Network, that's all I care about. So other than, of course, helping this hard fork happen to get all the DAO token holders, that's number one on the priority list for now. But then Slockit and our team will dive back into the Universal Sharing Network as soon as we can. I mean, it's really important to us. That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the reason I mentioned this disclaimer was I was just like, this might be someone, from what's it called, Rootstock, that maybe is, this could be someone who has a very thorough understanding of how smart contracts work and are deployed. Could have easily done this, either that or it's probably it's not an Ethereum junkie, so we can rule out like Seaman or something like that. But it's I'm not going to call him a maximalist because I really hate that word, like Bitcoin to the max. But no, this is probably a Bitcoin purist who maybe wanted to, make an example of the network. You guys have to have these trials and tribulations, and if you don't, if the hard fork doesn't go through, you know what, like they say, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. Well, if it's Father's Day, it's like constraints is the father of invention. So, or innovation. So, you know what? Like, if the DAO still exists in some form with far less ether, or like even if what's it called? The Ethereum, needs to bounce back at this. This will just show how much stronger it is and how much better you guys can innovate. So, regardless, the network's going to be stronger after this.
I mean, what's interesting is the price of Ethereum, and maybe Richie can back me up on this. It was going through the roof because of the DAO. I mean, at least I like to think that the DAO project helped raise the Bitcoin price or Ethereum price a lot. And of course, the price of Bitcoin was going up too, so that probably helped a lot. But when the DAO actually was launched, the price of Ethereum was tanking really hard. Even during the creation phase, it was just like pushing downwards. I think when we launched it was somewhere around $7 or $8, and right now it's still at 12. And I think that shows that this catastrophe is, yes, it definitely hurts, but the fact that this kind of DAO and anything like this is possible on a cryptocurrency is a good thing. It is a boom for the price of Ethereum. Mm-hmm. And this is the first, real big DAO. It is definitely not going to be the last. So I can't wait to see the next DAOs that come up. I know that they are going to be extremely powerful, and can't wait to see what happens. I mean, what do you think, Richie, about how this affects the prices? Because that's always really interesting to talk about.
It's a causation versus correlation thing. I don't know if I can stay one way or another, but when you raised, how much Ethereum did you guys raise? Like 10, 15 million?
12 million Ethereum.
Wow.
12 million Ethereum, which ended up being, at the time it was like $150 million, and then the day before the attack started, it was $225 million.
But when you get that much Ethereum moving into one contract, the the tokens have to come from somewhere. So I can definitely see how that would force an upward motion on the Ethereum price.
Mm-hmm. And I wish I could be as good as Richie with the short, concise answers. I just talk and talk and talk.
Yeah, he knows how to drop the mic repeatedly. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to have you on again, Richie. I know this Friday we have actually one of your ICOs that you're running on Bittrex, Breakout Coin, and then I think you're doing some promotion for it today. You're playing poker.
Yeah, I'm playing poker in an hour. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so any kids
Cool.
and their dads who fancy themselves poker players, I know Richie is pretty talented. Some of the Jumbucks guys have lost a lot of money to him. So yeah, check that out. And be sure to like and subscribe down below if you want to see more awesome interviews, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and in the future. But like, man, the next 2 weeks, like I just did a crap load of interviews, and now you guys you dropped this bombshell on me, and now I got to keep doing these interviews. Whatever. I'll get Vlad on. I'm sure. I want to hear the risk of proof of stake to this. You mentioned Griff about other DAOs, and like there might be a concern in the future, like if you guys do fork that if you do fork to kind of, I guess, bail out what happened with the DAO. I really hope it doesn't set like a precedent of like, what if there's a multi-million-dollar weapons company that launches a DAO, and then the Ethereum miners take a personal like stance against it, and they decide, we're just gonna mine the DAO away or fork the DAO away. Like, I don't know if you have a comment on that.
Yeah, I do. I would be really surprised by that. I think that the real fact is that everyone is self-interested, and people are going to look at this and they're going to determine what is best for themselves. That's what happens in a decentralized community. Everyone has complete autonomy, and so they can actually make a rational decision on what is best for them. And if there is a consensus reached, then and everyone agrees, or at least such a super majority agrees, then something will happen. But I can't imagine that people would agree on a political stance. That's not these guys. These guys are looking for what's best for the Ethereum network, and that is neither here nor there on that kind of thing. I don't know. What do you think, Richie?
I was just about to jump in there. Like, the best thing for the Ethereum network, I mean, everyone has their own opinion what the best thing is, right? Like, we talk a lot about the miners, but I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard how there was an open letter and the attacker has promised to go dole out 1 million Ethereum in a smart contract to the miners if they stay on the non-soft fork.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's a brilliant project. Don't get me wrong. I think it's super interesting, and they're using the same technologies that that we're looking at, and we're building on top of to go work in their favor. So
yeah, actually, I think the idea was stolen from Gavin, because I believe Gavin made a post of something similar that he wants to do to get people to incentivize people to mine.
Yeah. The attacker's got more Ethereum than Gavin does, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, but I don't think the attacker will not. I really don't see. Lefterist was able to find a way to at least stop the attacker from getting his coins out, I think, if everything falls into place. And I really can't imagine they're not. It would be really surprising. What?
Sorry, that's still going to require consensus, isn't it, for the soft fork to stop the funds from moving out?
Yes. But a soft fork consensus is already, as far as I can tell, from like just looking at what's going on, a soft fork consensus in the short term has already been reached, at least for the majority of people. I mean, a hard fork consensus was reached a couple hours after the attack and all the discussions at the beginning. Vitalik put out a blog post that said soft fork and then hard fork. But then as more people started talking, he took it down and said soft fork, and then we'll see.
Well, to be fair, consensus isn't reached until it actually happens, right? Yeah. Like, you can come up with a plan to build 1 million different options. It's still up to the miners to vote, right? So
absolutely.
If somehow the attacker does really put up a smart contract where he says stay on this fork and there's 1 million ether, I think you're gonna run into a lot more problems, or it's a lot more difficulty getting miners to do what you think is the right thing, because bottom line is, and for better or worse, a lot of miners are very financially driven.
Oh yeah, of course. They're self-interested, as everybody else is, and that's one thing where I don't think anyone wants that 3.5 plus million ether to enter the market. I don't think that is in anyone's interest other than the attacker. And actually, I think I might have spoken. I'm pretty sure that the attack that Left Eris came up with is really complicated, but I think it can be done with. I should just talk about it really quick, because it's a pretty cool, empowering thing, and I really hope the hard fork happens, but we might as well just start this attack because it's pretty cool. There's a line in the DAO that says people can that when a child DAO is created, basically the mother DAO can buy into the child DAO without voting yes. Everyone else has to vote yes, but the mother DAO has this ability to buy into the child DAOs, and so right now the DAO, if you're a DAO token holder, someone could make a proposal that says, let's buy into the attack DAO and get some of their tokens. And so with a little bit of ether, not really that much, we could. I mean, there's a lot of risks here. You have to get the curators to add the attack DAO onto the whitelist. That seems kind of scary. But I don't think there would be an issue there, especially since the attack DAO can't do anything for 27 days. And then the curators could remove it. We'd have to be able to reach quorum, which means 20% of DAO token holders, maybe 10% if the curators have min quorum, would have to vote on a proposal in the DAO to approve it, which would mean locking up their DAO tokens in this kind of uncertain environment. Which is, I don't know if that can happen. I think it can, but I'm not sure. And then the DAO would be able to buy tokens in the child DAO using create token proxy and send those tokens to a trusted smart contract that would then be able to, when the creation phase ends in 25 days, this smart contract, actually I think it has to send tokens to 2 smart contracts, because that's how the attack works, as I let out of the bag earlier. So it has to send tokens to 2 smart contracts, which one of them will start a split proposal in the child DAO, and then do the attack on them, and remove the funds from the child DAO to another DAO, and the grandchild DAO, we'll call it, and then that grandchild DAO would be able to drain the attack child DAO of its funds, and it would be the curators would be the trusted parties that run this attack. Of course, unfortunately, the attacker can join that split, and join the split, and join the split, and if we could just keep playing this game where the attacker cannot, get their funds out because we keep splitting with it and attacking the DAO, and then it's kind of like the stalker attack, effectively, but a little bit more complicated, where there's just this forever, every 3 weeks, there will be somebody, or every couple of weeks, somebody will be clicking some buttons to make sure this guy never gets his tokens or his ether. So that doesn't require a soft fork. However, if there was a very complicated soft fork, which might be even riskier than the hard fork, to be honest, you could prevent that guy from splitting completely. Some kind of magic in the code should be. I mean, that's kind of risky, but it could happen, and then we would be able to attack his DAO without him doing anything, and then call a new contract and make that into a withdraw contract, and then people would be able to get their funds back.
So I didn't follow all of that, but
I'm sure.
At a high level, did you just basically say that the DAO had the ability to go into any child DAO and take it over?
Now it does, only because of the attack. The DAO had the ability to buy DAO tokens in any child DAO by a vote, by a consensus of the DAO token holders. The DAO is automatically approved to do it, but they need to vote on it, so it would take consensus.
Oh, you Ethereum guys and your analogies with family trees and everything. I heard grandfather and father and uncle and cousins.
No,
And it's
there's a
always
really the Ethereum community is really strong. It's almost a family. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, no, I look forward to maybe going to DevCon if it wasn't, in China this time. But yeah, it's definitely a very well put together, I guess, development, environment. This is really the first, hiccup in Ethereum, I think. Like Ethereum has had so much good news going for them in the last 6 months that it's really hard to understand that, sometimes bad news happens and this is kind of bad.
Yeah, this is bad right now. I really think it can be good. I really think we can turn it into good and be like, guess what? We don't take this from anyone, and we can get this guy, or at least make it sure that he doesn't profit, and we can end up doing it, And if you guys want to fully understand that thing that I tried to explain, I mean, it is a complicated attack. And I think that's all you really need to know, most of you. But if you really want to explain it, Lepterus made it all into a blog. It's a beautiful blog. And he spent a lot of time putting this idea together with some other community members as well, because everything we do has been really a joint venture with the community and the curators, and everyone's working together. So there's a blog post on the Slock blog right now. I don't have the address to it or anything like that, but just go to blog.slock.it. And you can read up and see if you can follow it better than I can.
If there's infographics, I'm sure it would be really beneficial. I'll tweet it out here at Blocktalk at block_talk with the hashtag Blocktalk.
I just want to say that I don't think anyone that this attack is a replacement for a hard fork. It's really a backup if the hard fork doesn't happen, because the hard fork solves everyone's problems. This is like one of the several safety nets that we've been working on the last couple of days to implement. We have a couple Black Ops missions that are pretty fun. I can't talk about, but let's just say it's been a crazy couple of days.
Cool. Well, you definitely need to come back on at some point in the future and give us the the debriefing of these Black Ops missions.
Yeah.
And, I think we're about ready here to kind of wrap up the show. I'm sure Richie's got lots of plans with the kids today, and we don't want to hold them any longer. And
thanks, Richie, for waking up and joining us, man. It's always a pleasure.
It's always fun hanging out with you guys.
Oh, yeah. It's been a blast. But we got our tradition on the show here. We do our prediction of Bitcoin price.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, this is pretty impressive to say the least. Since the last time we had you on, Griff, we've had a bit more of a spread. So yeah, I don't know, man. The moon's the limit, or maybe Mars, maybe Pluto.
A week from today? Is that the idea?
A week from today. So next Sunday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time.
I think this is going to keep going up. I mean, that's what I said last time too, except that week I was wrong and it went down. But this week I'm going to go with 811.
811. All right, cool. Yeah, and if you don't remember, I mentioned that you guys were going to be driving some serious Ethereum price action, and that was going to drive Bitcoin down. So, yeah, I'm kind of feeling a little more bearish this time, Griff. So, you know what? Let's say we're going to get a nice retrace, I think, back into that this level down here. Let's just say 575, and hopefully, Richie doesn't, give me the old, what's it called? The Price is Right,
I know. I'm checking Ryan, our support guy, sold, because every time he sells, Bitcoin goes up, so I think I'm going to go higher. I'm going to go 820.
820.
Okay.
So you got a little bit of a bandwidth in between there, but yeah, 820 for Richie, perfect. And yeah, I'll again mention that Breakout is going to be on the show, Breakout Coin, and we're going to maybe play some poker after the show. I think, Richie. Are
you playing?
Yeah, man. I'll sign up. I gotta meet with my dad soon, but I'll see if I can, get a couple hands in before the end. And Griff, thanks again for coming. Thanks again for reaching out, and we'll be happy to have you on. I'm sure you'll have good news for us, or maybe you'll be representing the Doge DAO after this, you know, because we all know that that's going to be the third iteration of it. It's going to be the most successful. So everyone, get your bitcoins ready to go all in on the Doge.
The Doge. Yeah. No, thanks for having me on. I wish I could be here with brighter news talking about the Universal Sharing Network, but maybe next time.
All right, sounds good, man. And Richie, thanks again. Enjoy your Father's Day.
Thanks.
Yeah. Happy Father's Day, Richie.
Thanks.
Everyone watching at home, thank you so much, and see you in the next 1,000 blocks.